not true. I'm saying unequivocally, it never happened. And it didn't. It never happened. From the very beginning, I've said believing women means taking the woman's claims seriously when she steps forward and then vet it. Look into it. That's true in this case as well. Women have a right to be heard, and the press should rigorously investigate claims they make. I'll always uphold that principle. But in the end, in every case, the truth is what matters. And in this case, the truth is the claims are false.
An emotional Joe Biden adamantly denying any instance of sexual assault during his time in the Senate. This was the first time Biden had addressed the allegations in an interview format. Joining me to discuss, Wendy Patrick, legal and political commentator, and Tom Borelli, Newsmax insider and contributor for America's Voice News. Good morning to you both. Wendy, we'll start with your reaction to this morning's interview.
That's right, Emma. It was about time for Joe Biden to address these allegations. And it's one of the things that Democrats have been waiting for, had been hoping would happen. And the content was no doubt also what they were hoping to hear. He was very clear. There was no, I don't remember if she says it happened that way. There wasn't any of the hedging admissions that so many other politicians have made. Now, having said all of that, we also don't want to see anybody get Kavanaugh'd. In other words, we don't want to see everybody pile on without the supporting evidence that's going to be either there or not there. So now that he has made his statement, okay, he's done his part, now we're going to see whether or not anything can back it up one way or another. And guess what, Emma and Tom, there is plenty of time, I hate to say it, between now and November. If there is something, we're going to hear about it.
Well, he also did call for the National Archives and the Office of Fair Employment to identify any record of the complaint made in 1993 and make it available to the press if there is one. Tom, what does this authorization mean for a potential investigation?
Well, clearly, picking up on the prior point, it's really just the start of the investigation here and this whole issue. It's really only the top of the first, using a baseball analogy, even though we're not playing baseball these days. But I think this is really the start. I think the investigation into the Senate files will help. But then I think the most important thing was that former Vice President Joe Biden does not want those University of Delaware documents to be searched for Tara Reade's name. And he made a concern about those documents that it could be used against him politically. Well, gee, your record in life is important for one to know when you're voting for a president, putting that aside. But he could have made that general exception just for Tara Reade's name. But he didn't want to go there. So he fell a bit short there of full transparency. If he did nothing, he should say, look at everything, and the record will speak for itself.
Interesting point. But if we do recall, Joe Biden had supported the idea for Dr. Blasey Ford to have a full hearing during the Kavanaugh Supreme Court nomination, also saying that women should be given the benefit of the doubt, even so far as to say that. Joe Biden, of course, was a U.S. senator at the time of the allegations he's facing. The incident reportedly happening on Capitol property. Wendy, do you think there should be a Senate committee hearing with Ms. Reade being called as a witness?
Well, that's going to be one of the things they're going to have to decide, given the precedent that you just laid out. Tom notes we're not playing baseball anymore. We're also not flying anymore. And I was going to give the TSA screening analogy that Joe Biden, being a candidate for president, subjects himself to a full body scan, full transparency into his background, including his luggage, his baggage, what might be in those records that everybody is seeking to see. We all know that patterns make the predator when it comes to sexual harassers. And if, God forbid, there's something else in those records, one would wonder, well, gosh, why can't we just seek Tara Reade's name instead of look at everything? But in terms of whether there's going to be a Senate committee, that would be exactly the purpose of something like that. They'd want to narrow it to Tara Reade, but you know those things get opened up. And no doubt that's one of the concerns that Democrats have in deciding, is that the route they want to go?
Well, staying on that topic, Wendy, if there were to be some sort of hearing, again, no guarantee, but if this were to happen, what legal advice would you give to Ms. Reade?
Well, she's going to have her team of lawyers that are going to be advising her based on facts and circumstances the three of us, as well as our viewers, sadly aren't privy to. They're going to have to do with some of the background information that may or may not be public. So once someone knows that, her legal advice is probably going to be, obviously, to tell the truth, but to be as forthcoming as she seems to want to be. And that's important here because she's the one that came forth just recently and documented what she said in the police report. So all indications would be that she'd be willing to testify.
Interesting. In the meantime, other prominent Democrats have come forward and responded to these allegations. I want to play for you what Speaker Nancy Pelosi had to say.
I respect your question, and I don't need a lecture or a speech. There is also due process. And the fact that Joe Biden is Joe Biden.
All right. So Joe Biden is Joe Biden. That's according to Nancy Pelosi here. Doesn't seem to be the same sentiment that we heard before when other political figures, potentially more on the right, have been accused. Tom, are we going to see the media kind of change their tune and how they're covering this now that Joe Biden has at least addressed these allegations and denied them?
Well, unfortunately, Emma, as you know, the country's divided, and so is the media. So I expect the anti-Trump media to rally around Biden. And again, the most important thing here is it really seems that Democrats really only care about women when Republicans are being accused of sexual assault, not Democrats. And we're seeing a litany of the women who want to be Biden's VP pick defend him, whether it be, Kamala Harris or Amy Klobuchar or former Senate Governor candidate Abrams, Stacey Abrams. So all these women are now rallying around Biden for one reason. They want to be number two and potentially be the next president. So this is what this is about. Democrats really are about for women. They're really about for power.
All right. Interesting conversation. We're going to keep talking about it. Wendy Patrick, Tom Borelli, thank you both so much. Take care.